Welcome everyone to a meeting of the Old Colony Metropolitan Planning Organization. I'm David Moeller, Secretary Gina Fiandaca here. This meeting is accessible to people with disabilities. Microphones or telephones will be used by all speakers. If you would like this accommodation, please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833. Thank you. The Notice of Non-Discrimination Rights and Protections to Beneficiaries with regard to the Federal Title VI Non-Discrimination Protections and the State Non-Discrimination Protections is included on this meeting's agenda and is available at the Old Colony Planning Council website at https://OLDCOLONYPLANNING.org/. Please contact Mary Waldron at 508-583-1833 for more information. Thank you. You want to go ahead and call the roll?
MassDOT David Moeller.
I am here.
MassDOT District 5 Sean Handy.
I'm here.
City of Brockton Kamaya Parkin.
Present. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Thank you. Whitman Dan Salvucci.
Present, thank you.
Brockton Area Transit Glenn Geiler.
Representing Vice Chair Michael Lambert. Present.
Plymouth Lee Hartman.
Present.
And Old Colony Planning Council President Rebecca Coletta.
Present.
Thank you. We have a quorum present.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, I believe, is public comments. Is that correct? There you go. So anyone from the public who would like to comment at this time? Seeing and hearing none. If you'd like to comment during the meeting, let us know and we will call on you. Next item on the agenda is the minutes of March 21st, 2023. Can I get a motion and a second from a member to approve?
I'll make a motion, Dan Salvucci from Whitman.
Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you. Motion has been made and second.
What?
I'm sorry, are there comments on the minutes? Any comments, changes, or suggestions?
I don't know if anyone seconded. I think the voice was background noise.
Oh, okay.
Second.
There you go.
Yeah. Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any comments, changes, questions, or suggestions? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying, or do we call the roll, Charlie?
Yes, we do a roll call, please.
Yeah. I forgot we were virtual. Please call the roll, Charlie.
Yeah. David Moeller.
Yes.
Sean Handy.
Yes.
Kamaya Parkin.
Yes.
Lee Hartman.
Yes.
Dan Salvucci.
Yes.
Glenn Geiler.
Yes.
Becky Coletta.
I'll abstain since you have enough.
Okay, thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a report from the Brockton Area Transit. Glenn?
Morning. Thank you. Just a few updates this morning. I always like to talk about our newest service, which is our Rockland Microtransit service, which has seen a great uptick in ridership since we have launched that service. We are now offering some more payment options for folks that are unbanked who would like to ride with us. Also, that has been a great success. We're working with MassDOT currently on finalizing our capital improvement plan. I know we're going to talk a little bit later about some TIP projects, and our transit elements will eventually be on that list too for consideration. And I guess lastly, we just applied last week for a low-no and bus facilities grant opportunity that was available through Federal Transit in pursuit of funding of our aggressive fleet transition plan to zero emission vehicles. And I'm happy to take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the RTA? Seeing and hearing none. Next item on the agenda is amendment number 2, public comments and potential endorsement, and amendment number 3. So take these the way you want.
All right. Good morning. Thank you. So do I have a couple of action items here for the FFY 2023 to 2027 tip. And so as you can see on the screen, there are two amendments. So Amendment 2, it went out to public review and comment period at our last MPO meeting. So just to recap that, you can see it on your screen. So Amendment 2 is necessary to accommodate cost increases on two Stoughton projects, the Route 138 corridor improvement project, and also the intersection improvements at Central Street, Canton Street, and Tosca Drive. Both of those projects went up in cost significantly. And so to accommodate those, what we did was, so the Route 138 project was advanced construction over 2023 and 2024. And so we shifted the balance, the allocations by year of that advanced construction. So we decreased the amount programmed in 2023 by about 823,000 so we could absorb the cost increase for the other Stoughton projects, the intersection project at Central Canton and Tosca. And so in doing so, that keeps 2023 fiscally constrained, and we had the room in 2024 to shift that allocation for the remaining balance on the Route 138 project to 2024. So you can see that on your screen. This was the amendment that went out as presented at the last meeting. We presented it, so it was advertised for review. We presented it to our own board of directors as well as to the Joint Transportation Committee. No substantial comments were received. The only one being was a member of our board of directors asked for explanation on why the costs increased on the two Stoughton projects. So after following discussion, they approved the amendment as presented, as did Joint Transportation Committee. So at this time, I would ask for the MPO to endorse Amendment 2 with this following the successful public review and comment period.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill or the district? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the amendment as presented?
I'll motion Dan Salvucci from Whitman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Please call the roll.
David Moeller,
Yes.
Sean Handy,
Yes.
Kamaya Parkin,
Yes.
Lee Hartman,
Yes.
Dan Salvucci,
Yes.
Glenn Geiler,
Yes.
Becky Coletta.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Back to you, Bill.
All right, so the next part of this agenda item is amendment number 3. So this is one that we're looking to release to a public review and comment period. Amendment 3 is necessary to program a bipartisan infrastructure law discretionary grant that the city of Brockton has received. That grant is for it's under the federal government's SMART program. So that's as you can see on the screen, it's for Downtown Brockton Transportation Technology Project. So it's basically upgrading the traffic network here in the downtown. It's a substantial grant, and it's great news for the city. And so, but it does have to be programmed into the tip. The good news about this is it does not affect the program projects in the existing tip, nor does it affect the regional target. It's basically just taking this grant and programming it in. So it's fairly straightforward. And so I would ask the MPO to release this to a public review and comment period.
Thank you, Bill. Any questions for Bill or the city? Seeing and hearing none, can I get a motion and second to release as presented today?
I'll motion Dan Salvucci.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second. Becky Coletta.
Motion has been made and seconded. Please call the roll.
David Moeller,
Yes.
Sean Handy,
Yes.
Kamaya Parkin,
Yes.
Lee Hartman,
Yes.
Dan Salvucci,
Yes. Great job, by the way.
Glenn Guyler,
Good.
An enthusiastic yes.
Yes.
and Becky
very good.
Coletta.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations to the city. Next item on the agenda is the development of the 2024-2028 Old Colony tip.
Thank you. Today I'm presenting the draft FFY 2024 to 2028 tip that we're seeking to send out to public review and comment period. As you'll recall, at our last MPO meeting, we determined a preferred set of highway projects for this tip. And so since then, we've been preparing the actual draft document, and we're ready to send that out to public review and comment period. So as you can see on the screen, the highlights of this tip, or $173 million in highway and bridge projects, and over 41 million in transit projects. So we're very, very excited about that. And if you want to go to the next page, Sean, thank you. So I'll just kind of walk through each program you hear, just highlight what's programmed each year. So in FFY 2024, you see City of Brockton, we have intersection improvements at Center Street, at Cary and Lyman. Also in Brockton, Route 123 at Plymouth Street, and so signalization improvements there. In the town of Plimpton, we have a bridge replacement project. It's the bridge on Winnetoxet Road over the Winnetoxet River. And in Stoughton, as I discussed earlier, phase 2 of the Route 138 corridor project. In FFY 2025, project for Brockton, intersection improvements at Lyman, Grove, and Summer, as well as improvements to the Grove Street Bridge. And in Easton, Route 138 corridor improvements, including the intersection of Route 138 and Elm Street. In FFY 2026, we have in Abington, intersection improvements at Hancock Street, at Chestnut Street. And in Avon, we have intersection improvements at Route 28 at Harrison Boulevard and Spring Street. That's a major safety improvement project, so excited about that. Next one. In Duxbury, traffic signal installation at the Route 3 ramps at Route 3A, so that's right on the Duxbury Kingston line there. FFY 2027, we have a project in Abington, intersection improvements at Randolph Street and Richard Fitz Drive, which is Route 139 at Chestnut Street and Old Randolph Street. In Hanson, we have a corridor project, corridor improvements on Route 14. Duxbury, we have a bridge replacement, the Powder Point Avenue Bridge over Duxbury Bay.
70 million.
And then finally, in FFY 2028, we have a project in Abington, route intersection improvements at Route 18, at Route 123. In City of Brockton, intersection improvements at Route 123 Belmont Street, at Pearl Street and Stonehill Street. In Duxbury, this is phase 2 of that Powder Point Avenue Bridge replacement. Next page. In Hanover, Route 139 corridor improvements, right there in the town center, at Main Street, Center Street, and Silver Street. In Kingston, bridge replacement, Smith's Lane over Route 3. And in Stoughton, intersection improvements at Canton Street, School Street, and Summer Street. So all these projects, they're right now, as of right now, they're looking in good shape to meet programming in these targeted years. This tip was the set of projects was developed in full cooperation and collaboration with stakeholders and project proponents. And we got a good mix of projects here, and I'll note that, this is just the highway side that I'm presenting here, but on the transit side, we have some great transit improvements as well. In addition to the the normal maintenance and operation stuff, I think the centerpiece of this tip is, at least on the transit side, is and Glenn alluded to this earlier, they're moving towards a zero emissions fleet system. So incrementally phasing out their diesel and hybrid buses and replacing them with fully electric buses. So this tip accommodates the purchase of several of those electric buses. So that's very exciting news for the region and air quality and all that good stuff. So with that, entertain any questions, and after that, I would ask the MPO to release this tip to a public review and comment period.
Thank you, Bill.
If I may,
Yep. Go
I have a
ahead.
question, Dan from Whitman. On the Hanson project on Route 14, is it, I know it's still at 25% design, and I know that there's some issues with the towns dealing with it. Has there been any movement at all? I'd like to report back to Don Howard and let him know exactly what's going, where he introduced this project years ago.
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of activity behind the scenes. So right now, I know the town is still working to secure funding for an underground utility exploration that needs to be done. And then beyond that, there are some right-of-way issues that the town will need to address, but there is definitely movement on it, and there's a lot happening behind the scenes.
Okay, I'll let Don know. Thank you very much, Bill.
Any other questions for Bill?
I have a question.
Yes.
On the Duxbury Bridge, Powder Point Bridge project, the 70 million, does that count against projects, or is that separate money? I know we've heard about it and talked about it in other meetings, but I just can't remember if it comes out of our regular tip money or if there's special money for that bridge.
Yeah, that's a off-system bridge project. So it's it's not coming out of the regional target. It's like kind of separate money. So it's programmed in our tip, but it's not coming out of our regional target.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to make sure.
Good.
Thank you.
That's good.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, can you need a motion and a second to release the tip as presented today for a public review process?
I'll make that motion, Dan from Whitman.
Is there a second? Is there a second to release the tip?
I'll second.
Second. Thanks.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Please call the roll.
David Moeller,
Yes.
Sean Handy,
Yes.
Kamaya Parkin,
Yes.
Lee Hartman,
Yes.
Dan Salvucci,
Yes.
Glenn Geiler,
Yes.
Becky Coletta.
Yes. I'm
Motion
trying to
carries.
not talk when my dogs are barking.
Oh. We are a pet-friendly office, so
Is it a service dog? I don't know.
Thank you, everyone.
thank you.
Item on the agenda is a discussion of the certification of the Old Colony MPO transportation planning process. Is this you, Charlie?
Yes, thank you, David. So on an annual basis, one of the items before the MPO is a self-certification of the Metropolitan Transportation Planning Process. And there's several items where the MPO self-certifies on compliance with the Metropolitan Planning Regs, that we have an anti-lobbying statement, that we operate a process in a non-discriminatory manner. Next slide, please. And you can see several items here through item 10, compliance with the Older Americans Act, so on and so forth. Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. So as you see these on your screen, these are things that are abided by the staff in its metropolitan planning process as we develop the TIP, the long range plan, the public participation plan, the unified planning work program in our day-to-day operations. You might be asking yourselves, well, who ensures compliance with these? Our friends at the USDOT through the Federal Highway and the Federal Transit Administration every 4 years have a transportation planning certification review, where they go through these items and look for specific documentation of how we're implementing our process in adherence to these next slide, 11 items. And as luck would have it, we have just started our federal transportation planning certification review with our federal partners, and likely to conclude sometime in August with a final report. And I would also say that our partners at MassDOT, through the Office of Transportation Planning, closely adhere to providing guidance and guidelines with respect to the planning regulations. And as we're doing the 3C document cycle, they're very good about providing advanced materials and having an annual MARPA MassDOT annual meeting where they talk about specific guidance and review of previously approved certification documents with any recommendations from the federal partners. So this is kind of an ongoing process, and we report from a staff perspective that we do comply with these 11 items.
Good.
Thank you, Charlie. Any questions for Charlie? Charlie, this is an action item, right? I need a motion to
Yes, please.
approve the self-certification. So can I get a motion in a second to approve the self-certification as presented today?
I'll make the
So
motion,
moved.
Dan Whitman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. Motion has been made in second. Charlie, please call the roll.
David Muller,
Yes.
John Handy,
Yes.
Kamaya Parkin,
Yes.
Lee Hartman,
Yes.
Dan Salvucci,
Yes.
Glenn Geiler,
Yes.
and Becky Coletta.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. Could you go back one slide? Yep. Thank you. So part 2 of this agenda item is the MPO's self-certification with compliance with the Global Warming Solutions Act for transportation. So what this articulates is the steps and protocols that the MPO, through the development of the transportation improvement program, the regional transportation plan, are abiding by the regulations of the Global Warming Solutions Act. And what it entails is not only the reporting of the greenhouse gas emissions from projects, showing that we're going to show a decline as required by this Global Warming Solution Act by certain milestone years, such as 2020 and 2050, to show a declining in transportation emissions over the life of not only the TIP, but also the long range plan. This also talks about how we're developing forecasts and coordinating among regional partners and with the state and the federal government on socioeconomic projections. And what's important about this is the reporting out through the TIP. And I note that in TIP Appendix K is the greenhouse gas emissions report. It shows the decrease in emissions for each transportation project where applicable, and similarly with the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions through the electrification of the BAT fleet is certainly help the Commonwealth obtain or move towards its achievement of the requirements of the Global Warming Solution Act and greenhouse gas reductions. So next slide. And then you can see, yep, thank you. So the reporting out is, one of the important documentation things in the TIP, and the state's very good about aggregating these numbers across the regional TIPs, and then, compiling that and showing from the transportation sector how implementation of these programs will show a reduction in greenhouse gas. So this is also an action item as with the previous.
Thank you, Charlie. Any questions for Charlie?
I have a question.
Yes.
On the prior slide where they talked about local commitments and making sure it's consistent with the local land use policies. And do we have a policy in place that we've pushed out to the local communities as to how to comply with this, or how to make sure land use policies and other local policies are furthering these goals? It's on the prior page, Charlie.
Yeah, previous slide, Sean.
Number 4. don't actually know what that means, but as a local representative here, I'm wondering what it means and whether we need to push out some local buy-in on this.
Yeah, this looks like it's a requirement for we as the regional planning agency to make sure that the plans that we're developing are consistent with local land use policies such as providing affordable housing,
Yeah.
providing multimodal transportation options and the like. So, and part of the MIPA process includes a greenhouse gas emissions analysis for large scale projects that are going through the communities.
Okay,
Other questions? Hearing none, can I get a motion in a second to approve this as presented today?
I'll make a motion, Dan from Whitman.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Motion has been made and seconded. Please call the roll.
David Muller,
Yes.
Sean Handy,
Yes.
Kamaya Parkin,
Yes.
Lee Hartman,
Yes.
Dan Salvucci,
Yes.
Glenn Geiler,
Yes.
and Becky Coletta.
yes,
Thank you. Motion carries.
You. Next item on the agenda is a presentation on the Route 18 corridor study.
That would be me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Sure. Next slide, please. Next. Next slide, please. I have a presentation that updates where we are on the Route 18 corridor study, what we've done so far, and what we plan to do, and where we are in that study process. Our corridor study consists of Route 18 in East Bridgewater and Bridgewater. And the purpose is to address traffic congestion, improve safety and mobility. That's for all road users. And to develop some short-term and long-term improvements that could possibly end up on the tip. It's Route 18, as I said, in just the two towns of East Bridgewater and Bridgewater. So we're looking at traffic volumes, bottlenecks. The two major bottlenecks being East Bridgewater Center and Bridgewater Center. Looking at peak hour levels of service, safety, number and types of crashes, the condition of the built environment, traffic, including pavement, sidewalks, pavement markings, traffic control. We're looking at transit operations, bicycle pedestrian safety, truck operations, and an important aspect is to look at the changing land use and zoning and the potential impacts of land use changes that are happening, as well as environmental conditions. And we expect the final report in September of 2023. Next, please. This is a bit of our timeline. So we've done our data collection and analysis of existing conditions. We have met with town officials and have gotten an idea about what they're looking for in the corridor for future improvements, and what kind of development they're expecting in the corridor. So we're still in the public outreach process. We have a survey, a public survey that we've already have public on our website and on the town's websites. And we're also doing some table events. We're going to be at Bridgewater State University for Earth Day to get out there and tell the public about this study, as well as town election day in the towns and town meeting. So we have done existing conditions. We're going to look at future no build and build conditions. We're going to use our traffic model for that over the summer, and to get the towns to review the analysis and the potential recommendations, which they have already we've already gotten an idea of what they're looking for, especially in like Bridgewater Center, as well as in East Bridgewater. And so we'll have a draft in the late summer. We'll circulate that for review to the stakeholders, and we'll get a final by the end of the summer. Next, please. This is just I'm not going to go through every question, but this is just the route corridor survey. It closes out at the end of June 2023. We have it in English, French, Haitian, Creole, Portuguese, and Spanish. We have it at the town websites, the OCPC website, newsletter, as well as our website, and we've gotten it out on social media. Next, please. I just have a couple of slides that show what's happening on Route 18. And one of the things that's happening with Route 18 as more development happens along the land use, along the adjacent land use, the corridor becomes more of a destination as well as a highway corridor for mobility, regional mobility. And I think that's reflected in some of the results. These are just preliminary results because, as I said, the survey is open until June. So we've had, on the top left, we've had 60% of the answers from respondents from, we've had over 300 respondents thus far. East Bridgewater, we've been, about 60% come from East Bridgewater, about 30, just over 30% in Bridgewater. Trip destination along Route 18. Some have Route 18 as a destination, some are passing through, and some actually do both. Most people do both. So why do people travel on Route 18? About 60% commute, shopping or services, which was close to 80%. So that tells you what's happening on Route 18 within these two towns. Well, we do have the two town centers, which influence that. But as what we've noticed along these state numbered corridors is that as a development happens, they become destinations, and that impacts the capacity of the road. It slows traffic down. There's more conflicts as development happens. Medical destinations, especially in East Bridgewater, with this medical center there, which is expanding. Schools, recreation, and homeowner. There's actually a lot of residences along the corridor too. What mode do people use? Well, overwhelmingly, it's by automobile. Some bicycling, some foot traffic, which because of the town centers. But the answer to this question shows that it's still very auto oriented as we try to improve for mass transit and walking and biking. We still have a long way to go in corridors like Route 18. Next, please. What time periods? Weekday in the morning, afternoon, weekday is the biggest impact of when it's mostly congested for people. So there's also on the weekend 20% Saturdays and just over 10% on Sundays. On the top right, what kind of modes do people? What would people consider using? Mass transit about 20%, and walking. More people would like to walk along the corridor. 40% of the respondents answered that they would like to do more walking. And do you find yourself seeking alternative routes to avoid Route 18? And almost over 70%, about 75% said yes. So as congestion happens, people try to avoid it, even though it's a major north-south corridor. Goes all the way from the Middleborough Rotary all the way north to Route 128, 95. Next, please. So we asked people, what would you like to see for the future? And a lot of people wanted to see more sidewalks. And number 12 was less travel delay. People are noticing the delay. They want less travel delay, but they also want more traffic signals, which kind of adds to that. And the others were mixed with more bicycling facilities. Some people did answer that they would like to see higher density of commercial development or mixed use, but not a great amount of people. And more driveway and access management, which is important for capacity to preserve capacity in the corridor, but there was only about 10% of the people that perceived that, but it is a problem. Curb cuts and land use development along the adjacent road, along the adjacent corridor does cause more conflict, and it eats away at the capacity. Next, please. These are just some of the answers that people have. What are their main concerns? Drivers going through red light, East Bridgewater Center, which is a major bottleneck. Safety, pedestrian safety and sidewalks in East Bridgewater. The center of East Bridgewater is a major concern for both walking and as well as traffic congestion. What infrastructure do people like to consider? A lot of people answered they want more turning lanes at intersections, dedicated lanes, as well as people recognize they need sidewalks along the corridor. Next, please. So we did existing level of service, and at 20 intersections. Major concern at East Bridgewater was level of service F at the signal. It's a 5-way major bottleneck. Also, Central Square intersection. Central Square is also a concern, a major bottleneck, level of service F. So we have the existing levels of service conditions. Next, please. And no build. Our no build condition is going to be, this is in East Bridgewater, just at the Whitman line. Is a potential for future development is the extension of the sewer into the new sewer district. And where there's new development coming in, a 400 square foot warehouse. Compass Medical is expanding. There's the intersection of Highland Street at Route 18, which is already a skewed intersection. And even though the level of service was acceptable in urban conditions, it's a skewed intersection. There's long queues in the afternoon that we observed. And that intersection is going to be impacted by the expansion of the medical center, as well as other development along this corridor. So that's going to be part of our no build. What we will do is we will get the trip generation, and we will assign it on the roads and through the intersections to help us with the future future levels of service. Next, please. This is just another map that shows the dotted line shows the extension of the sewer from Brockton into East Bridgewater into the Compass Medical Center. Next, please. This is that intersection that I was just talking about. So our builds is going to include level of service for the build conditions. That would be adding the impact from the sewer extension. We would be using our traffic model to get a future no build, and then we would be adding the trip generation from those projects that we know that are definitely coming in. It does need updated signal timing and phasing over the existing, which is fixed, and a future build scenario could be actually just reconstruction of the intersection and better align it if possible. And then there would be maybe some short-term improvements such as improve the signal timing and phasing in the interim. Next, please. Our another major bottleneck would be Bridgewater Center. This has long delays under existing conditions. There's long queues, especially along Central Street, as well as Route 18. Again, it needs updated signal timing and phasing, and pedestrian and bicycle accommodation are poor. There's down Central Street to the southeast, there are a number of schools. There's all the schools, middle school, elementary school, high school. So this, in the afternoon, there's a lot of pedestrian activity. I think there could be more, but pedestrian safety is a concern of people in the town. It needs improvement in that area. Next, please. We're going to go further south, which is we're still in East Bridgewater, and this is the intersection of West Street and East Street. West Street is Route 106. East Street is not 106. 106 goes left. It goes north up to Route 18, combined Route 18 and Route 106, and then Route 106 goes off again on Whitman Street. Again, the alignment is poor here. The signal timing and phasing is antiquated. A big part of this problem at this intersection, we've actually talked to the town before about this intersection, is there's a lot of weaving as people follow Route 106. They're going south on Route 18 and they go right to West Street. There's that free right. There's a lot of weaving of cars at high speeds, and they end up in crashes, especially with the misalignment of East Street at this intersection. Next, please. We're going further south into Bridgewater Center, and this is the north part of of Central Square. Again, misalignment here. Some of the things we wanted to consider was removing parking on the southbound on Broad Street into Central Square, add a second lane, revise the signal timing and phasing, and there's some parking on that island there that might be able to remove that, because again, that's when people park there, it causes a lot of conflicts with turning movements. Next, please. This is kind of a busy map here. I don't know if people can make out what's going on, but we did talk to the town planners and town manager. We had a meeting, and they actually want to see Central Square, which currently has 2 lanes going north and 2 lanes going south, 2 travel lanes, and they have angled parking. They would like to see the sidewalks extended. So on one side, the sidewalk, they want to get to 20 to 25 feet. On the other side, they want to get it to 20 feet for the businesses. They want restaurants to have dining on the sidewalk. They want wider sidewalks. They want it more pedestrian friendly, which includes rapid rectangular flashing beacons at the crosswalks. But it also means removing the parking. Instead of removing it completely, there would be parallel parking. And then there would be 1 travel lane northbound, 1 travel lane southbound, but there would also be a bicycle path going up and down. There's about 60 feet of right of way on the north side and about 50 feet of right of way on the south side. So this could all be fit in. This doesn't do it justice here, but I did the best I could with PowerPoint. So it's just a concept right now of Central Square, how the town envisions what they want going on with Central Square. They want to connect better with Bridgewater State University. There's big opportunity to get pedestrians from Bridgewater with all those students and faculty. They want more people to come to the town center and go into restaurants and businesses. Next, please. I have this is the south side of Central Square in Bridgewater, and these concepts, we at Old Colony Planning Council, the staff, Ko Jung and I, we looked at how can we make it better, because right now there's kind of two intersections here. It's as vehicles, sort of like a roundabout kind of thing, and there's a yield sign going north, which is level service F during the peak hour. And then on the southbound side is going into the oval. It's a level of service F also. It's a, I think it's a stop sign now.
Yeah.
But if we looked at a couple of different concepts, putting a traffic signal down at the south end, the 3 phases with we would open up the southbound lane to 2 lanes. It's 1 lane through the oval, but we would open it up to 2 lanes, so those going on South Street could go through, but those turning left around the oval would have a traffic signal, and those coming north from South Street into the oval would have that same signal. On this concept, we would not signalize the other intersection, which is North Bedford Street coming in. It would still be a yield sign, and it would be right turn in, right turn out into Summer Street, and then they would merge into one lane. As I said, these are concepts right now. We're going to look at the levels of service, and the other the next is similar with the traffic signal on the south side, but that would also the vehicles coming in on North Bedford Street would have a signal there. It would still be right turn out from Summer Street, but you would be allowed in to Summer Street. The other concept, the previous one, did not allow vehicles into Summer Street. The reason why I put this one in is because the town had expressed interest in having Summer Street as a connection to BSU, so they would probably want to have access through there, whereas the previous one didn't have access onto Summer Street. These are concepts that we're going to present to the town. We're going to do the level of service. We haven't done that yet for future, and you know, see what they think about these. Next, please. So our next step is to, as I said, discern the potential traffic and level of service. We're going to be using the Transcad model, analyze the future scenarios, and in consultation with the stakeholders, and test the potential improvements, finalize the improvements, and complete the draft report for review and comment from the stakeholders. And our final report is due the end of the summer of 2023. So I think that's the end. Next, please. If anyone has any questions or comments, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Thank you, Ray. That was a very detailed, excellent report. Any questions for Ray?
A comment, if I may.
Of course.
So, you know, I did live in Bridgewater for about 12 years, both as a student and then, you know, just decided I liked the town and I wanted to go back and live there. I just am so grateful that you guys are taking a look at that Center Square area. I think prioritizing perceptions of safety for students and other residents is really important. That intersection in the center of town. There are some great local businesses there, but I know that it's not even necessarily that it's unsafe, but that it's perceived to be an unsafe space for pedestrians. And especially looking at those crosswalks, which are hidden right now by vehicles that are pulled into parking on both sides there in the center. It is a complicated project, and I'm glad that you're looking at multiple scenarios and how the college can interact better also. So grateful for the collaboration and looking at all those different scenarios. I think it's a very important project for our region. Thanks.
You're welcome. Absolutely. The pedestrians, it's difficult to cross the oval because of that angled parking. Pedestrians are hidden. But with the rapid rectangular flashing beacons and the parallel parking, you'd have better visibility of pedestrians, and you push a button and it flashes, the pedestrian lights flash. So there's no doubt that vehicles will see those flashing pedestrian signs. So definitely your comment is well taken. That's exactly what we're
Thank
trying to
you.
avoid. Yeah.
I hope so, because I think that between the confusion some people have entering a rotary
Yeah.
in the center and then seeing those rectangular flashing signs, we would hope that they would know that there's a pedestrian coming, but it is a complicated area.
Yep.
Thanks, Ray.
You're
appreciate
welcome.
Thank you, Ray. Great job.
You're welcome.
What's next
know
on? Oh, I'm sorry, is there somebody else wants to ask a question?
Yeah, I just want to say something quick. It's funny that we had a comment about Central Square. It's the same one that I was focusing on. You're doing a whole corridor. There's lots of traffic issues, but that Central Square I see as kind of your most complicated to deal with, because as someone who also was a student at one point at Bridgewater State for a graduate program, but I also use, follow 104 to get to Route 24 all the time. And it's also a pass-through area. And so one of my questions is whether there's been any look at encouraging traffic to bypass Central Square. Because as you reduce traffic lanes there, I always back up there, and it's almost any time that I go through to get to Route 24. So just putting that out there, that I know it's going to be complicated. I may put some thoughts together and entering them on the survey or on your email.
Yeah, we've looked at the traffic circulation, and Grove Street was recently the subject of a road safety audit, and they did change the direction of traffic there, but in a one-way pattern. But there really isn't. There really aren't very many bypass corridors going east-west through Bridgewater, unfortunately. But it's if we could find a good route, definitely we would encourage that. I think what the town has done is made a decision that they want to make Central Square more friendly, more pedestrian friendly and bicycle friendly, and let people find their way around it themselves. But I mean, looking at a map, I don't see any right of ways or any corridors that we could do that with, but it definitely needs it. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, a little to the north is High Street, which is an east-west.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's a on the north side, that's a bypass area.
What I use. Yep.
That's.
Thank you for the presentation.
You're
Any
welcome.
other comments for Ray? Thank you, Ray, very much. What's next on our
You're
agenda?
welcome. Yep.
So we
Alright.
have some administrative items for the MPO today.
Excellent.
The first is a reminder that if you have not already registered and you have time available, please register and attend the MassDOT Transportation Innovation Conference, which is being held in Worcester at the DCU Center on May 2nd and May 3rd. I checked the registration totals this morning, and you do have over 1,000 registrants already, so congratulations. Next slide. Next slide. And we just wanted to ask the signatories to save the dates for upcoming MPO meetings, May 16th, June 20th, and July 18th. As the MPO is working on their certification documents, TIP, UPWP, and long-range plan, those are critical elements that will be addressed during this time period. And I'll also say that at some point here, the federal partners would like to visit an MPO meeting and have an agenda item on the transportation planning certification review and hear some comments back from the MPO itself on how we're doing as a staff and an MPO.
Thank you, Paul.
Yep.
I'm sure everybody thinks you're doing wonderfully, Charlie, but
Yeah.
we'll tell them in person.
I'll keep my fingers crossed.
The next item on the agenda, I believe, is adjournment. Can I get a motion and a second to adjourn, please?
So moved, Dan from Whitman.
Is there a second?
A second.
Hey, Lee, where have you been?
Yeah, you guys got it all under control.
He's graciously letting me second today. Thank you, Lee.
Motion having been made and seconded without objection, we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Charlie,
Yes.
I will not be there on the next MPO.